Kasparian declared, "It is a lie that puberty blockers are reversible. In some cases, they are not, and they can cause irreparable harm." She's just claiming this. It seems like people do support trans folks and understand that trans people need access to care until the point that children could be involved. Again, not listening at all to any person who was a trans kid.
Oh, I don't want to find out what's under that skirt.
Okay, just calm down.
You can make sports work in a way that isn't discriminatory, but your first knee-jerk reaction is to be discriminatory. We've been talking about Anna Kasparian on and off for a while, right? We first started talking about her a few months back when she said something about wanting to be called a woman and not a birthing person. You know, we have videos on the channel, like a couple videos on the channel, I think, discussing this arc that she's been on, this trajectory that she's been on. And it's pretty clear, you know, despite what she may think and despite what she may wish, she's like in the TERF pipeline. She is on her way to becoming a TERF. Like she's like one of those liberals or centrists or whatever you want to call them that's like, I affirm that trans women are women, but they're also like complaining a lot about trans women in sports. Jank especially is complaining about trans women in sports on their show, and now they're coming out against puberty blockers and other gender affirming care for minors, which is kind of the point of no return. You know, if you can't listen to trans people who used to be kids and who can tell you, then like you're seriously very far gone. You know, I'm saying all that, and part of what I wanted to do in this little seggy-seg, since this is the little seggy-seg that we're doing, is, you know, actually look at some of the things that they have said recently. That's like what is sparking all of this discussion about them being potentially transphobic. I have no evidence for this. This is purely conjecture, but I wonder if this all started not just because of the birthing person stuff, but because someone tried to clock her. Someone transvestigated Anna Kasparian and it made her spiral. She really hasn't done the work to truly understand the experiences of trans people. Yeah, that's the thing that's so frustrating about this, is a few months ago when she was complaining about birthing person and saying, I don't want to be called this, and like, I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but to be clear, the reason why we would use the term birthing person, it's not like you say, oh, as an individual, you coming into the hospital, oh, this is a birthing parent. Let's get this birthing parent set up in their room, and like they're refusing to call you a woman or acknowledge your pronouns or something. No, it's a matter of public policy. If you say like birthing people need access to postpartum care, that's like an objectively literal thing, and it's not limited to womanhood. Whatever, TLDR. I don't want to go into a whole thing because I've made videos extensively about it, but people explained this to her. Riverboat Jack, who's a streamer that we've done work with before, is the one who explained, you know, this is why it's important. You know, transgender men sometimes die because they are rejected for being able to have, like, sometimes they're rejected from reproductive care. I explained this to her too. Well, the thing is, Dizzy, that she responded to Riverboat Jack. Like, it's not just like I explained it to her too, but she got a response. Like, Riverboat Jack said, here's the reason why it's important. And Anna was like, thank you so much for calmly explaining this issue to me. And then she just turned around and immediately went back to it. So I haven't covered Anna. I think that there actually has been, she kind of did even more of a little bit of bitching about birthing person. And like, I could have covered it and done a video like more recently, but I didn't, because it's like, okay, well, that's the type of person that she is now. But I guess, you know, you don't expect, but you should expect that they are always going to continue to escalate. Well, first of all, she praised Jesse Singal. And Jesse Singal, so she said, he's not a transphobe at all. They just want to suppress anything that questions the safety of puberty blockers / cross-sex hormones for minors. It's pretty disgusting to say the least, and I'm glad that their efforts to destroy his career hasn't worked. Jesse Singal, who, among other things, like, has worked with people who support conversion therapy. I don't know a lot about Jesse Singal, but I do know that he is not like a trans ally. Jesse Singal did the whistleblower story a while back where all the other parents and trans kids said the story was bullshit. Oh, sure. Oh, so Jesse Singal, when the secretary at the gender clinic leaked a bunch of information violating HIPAA by telling someone about the private information of minors, like the private medical information of minors, Jesse Singal was the one who like wrote the story and popularized it. Like, congratulations. So yeah, Jesse Singal, it doesn't really matter whether someone is a transphobe in their heart, like whether they hate trans people in their heart. That is a violently transphobic thing to do. Like, exposing all of these children to potential like risk, like having their private data made public and like boosting a woman who was willing to violate the privacy of children. So supporting Jesse Singal, not great. Questioning puberty blockers, also not the best. So let's see. I don't know what this link is. President Sunday retweeted it, so I'm gonna watch it now.
It's bad faith. They know there's a difference between gender and sex. They know that it is very possible for someone to be born a biological male or a biological female, but in terms of gender, identify differently as a male or non-binary, but they still have the biological capacity, the physical capacity to get pregnant. So that's why the language, the rhetoric is inclusive to include those people. It is not a big deal.
That clip was her like 2 years ago pushing back against Republicans feigning ignorance about why inclusive language is needed. People brought it up because it's obvious how she's grifting now because she knows better. Oh, this clip is from like 2 years ago. She used to be able to point out the exact reason why inclusive language matters. I mean, she's either grifting or she's dumb. Like, I don't know, she doesn't understand. But yeah, she is like now got a Fox News article written about her. Progressive journalist breaks with left, warns puberty blockers can cause, quote, irreparable harm to children. Anna's too smart to be dumb on accident. Like, is she grifting? She was either lying before or she's lying now. I don't know. I mean, COVID does destroy people's brains. Like, let's not forget. Like, please, let's not forget that COVID does destroy people's brains. So she might just be an idiot now. COVID ruined humanity, TBH. I mean, it's not done yet. But yeah, you've now got a Fox News article about like why is Anna the expert? What do you mean? Like a journalist warns about a medical issue as though she's an expert? Like, she's not a researcher. She's like a lay person effectively when it comes to this medical stuff. But she's now being lauded by Fox News and other folks, and like people are sharing this article going like, look at this, even this leftist is against puberty blockers for kids. Like, this idiot doesn't know anything about this subject. Like, imagine being like a blonde woman whose job it is to talk about the news, and like, frankly, one of the things that Anna is really good at doing is talking shit about other women. Like, this is like her job is to talk shit about other women.
And how does she decide is a good way to make up for that, Anna?
Sorry,
She flashes
it's loud.
more coochie.
Jank is loud, I'm sorry.
This is from last night. More cooch. More cooch. This is unbelievable. I mean, look, she's just flat out.
Classy journalism. This is Anna's job, to be this person who bitches about other women.
Flashing us.
And like
Obviously,
commentary.
On the young. It is, I know. It feels like, you know what it is? It looks like an old cooch.
It does look like an old cooch.
Yeah. All right, so Anna, is there some psychological thing behind this? Or
Incredible.
So I don't know what this chick's name is, but I saw it independently on the internet. And I was like, oh, geez, and Lord mercy. At first, I was wondering if it was photoshopped, right? But it turns out it's not. She's real, right?
It looks photoshopped. I mean, her arms look unbelievable.
Take a
This
full
is
screen on
so
it. Yeah.
crazy.
Oh, no way. Like, I'd be worried that she was going to break something of mine during sex. And
He brushed over it real quick during sex. Like, he's like, I would not fuck this woman. That's the whole thing he's saying right here is I would not fuck this woman because I would be afraid that she would knock something over during sex.
Much
Like,
more worried that she's going to pull out a jammy on me.
She actually doesn't. Oh, yeah, she does. Never mind. I was going to say she doesn't look so bad in that picture, but this one.
There's an excellent chance she's a male.
No, okay, look. Here's the thing. I'm not going to go quite
Look
as
at
far.
how long her arms are.
I'm not going to go quite as far as you
Oh,
have.
I don't want to find out what's under that skirt.
Okay, just calm down. But
I don't know how old that was, but like the quality of this video, and it looks like a different setup. I don't know, a different like desk from where they were usually at. So like, yeah.
I believe that I am going. If I were the ruler, the benevolent dictator of the world, I would legalize bestiality where you are giving. Where you are pleasuring the animal. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Okay.
Okay, Anna is correct here. Anna is correct here. So yeah, let's just skip past that. Let's just go move on.
Eva Longoria flashed her panties.
Oh, okay. This is young Turk style story. I like this.
So again, like I'm just drawing your attention to like this is the person who is apparently the expert. Who are we who are listening to this person about the like relative safety of medication in complex treatment plans for very rare illnesses, like very rare conditions.
When the story has no purpose other than, come on, let's show you Eva Longoria's panties.
No, but her panties are very surprising because, hold on, before we show the picture.
Have you obtained it?
I've obtained photos of her panties.
Okay.
But before we look at them, I want to go to the peanut gallery. And I want to ask what kind of panties, well, actually, they might have already seen the pictures.
Well,
they are.
Says.
Have you seen the picture of Eva Longoria's panties? Okay, what type of panties?
So this is the expert, right? This is the expert that we're listening to. Yeah, it's like she's specifically speaking about journalists like Jesse Singal. Yeah, some of the risks could be when it evolves to, when it comes to transitioning literal kids with puberty blockers. Kasparian declared, "It is a lie that puberty blockers are reversible. In some cases, they are not, and they can cause irreparable harm." She's just claiming this. Like, her job does not include citing examples while she is live, as far as I can tell. You know, she did not pull up an article. Like, I don't know that their show is anything like my show, where, you know, I don't always, but sometimes I will just pause and be like, I can literally just Google this and give you an article. And now you have an article. She changed her mind. I guess she changed her mind. You know, I guess it's as simple as that. She just decided that she doesn't support trans people. I don't know. It seems like people do support trans folks and understand that trans people need access to care until the point that children could be involved. Again, not listening at all to any person who was a trans kid. Listen to the people who didn't have access to care and what that was like for them. And listen to the people who did get access to care and how life-saving that was for them. But no, that's not what it's about, apparently. Yeah, fact-checking only works if you care about reality. And I can't do that here. It's like, is this coming from a place of disgust? Like, where is this coming from? She never supported trans people that much personally. She said the words, non-binary. I saw that when she was talking about Benny, she called Benny he and then quickly corrected to she. And, like, it's good that she corrected herself, but it does show that she doesn't actually think of Benny as a she, because that is easy to do. I am like, oh, okay, Benny's pronouns are she. And that's just, like, never gonna be a mistake. She's worked with Benny for a while and is, like, still misgendering. It sounded intentional. Yeah, I can't say that it was intentional, but it did happen. So I'm 50-50 on whether it was accidental or intentional, but it was the worst possible time for it to be an accident. Yeah, like, not a good moment to mess that up. Like, not a good moment. And it shows me that she was not being careful with her words. It's always sad when people that you care about and, like, look up to. I mean, like, listen, I remember her scathing abortion thing, like, a few years ago, and, like, her war on Christmas comments a few years ago. It's just, you know, great, amazing. She only cares about her oppression as a female. Like, she is, like, a single issue person when it comes to what she has a problem with. Because here's the other thing. She also, like, there was a video recently of her really seriously complaining about Hassan. It's one of the videos that's been going around, and I'm not going to play that one, I don't think, but she recently went off about how the New Yorker or whatever, like the New York Times or whatever, is not going to write an article about her. And you can just see that's like, it's like seething resentment about misogyny, and that's fair. Like, that's fair enough. But it's like, that's the beginning and end of Anna Kasparian's thought process about oppression. Is like, she cares about her oppression as a female and does not care about other types of oppression. She has processed her feelings about misogyny healthily and takes it out on others as a result. She's done such a healthy job of working through her feelings about misogyny. She's opposed to traditional sexism but gives zero crap about fighting oppositional sexism. I mean, this is what I mean. Like, she has, like, a single issue. Anna always has an issue with other women. It's a grift. If you saw her Adam and Sitch appearance, it was basically a pitch to the right. She directly contradicted herself in too many ways for it to be an accident. Are you talking about this thing? Sitch and Adam, yeah. This is like a 2-minute clip.
Of reproductive rights. I want to say something about abortion. As someone who is firmly in favor of reproductive rights, I want to tell you guys and your audience that The vast majority of us do not agree with what Lance said on Tim Pool's show.
But you were talking about how women, how like disgusted you are that women may have an abortion in the 9th month, right? Or even
a viable baby.
Of a viable baby.
That could live.
I wanted to scream at that time, being like, women who have abortions in the 9th month, they're not doing that because they got bored. Or all of a sudden they're like, oh, I don't care anymore. They do that because it's a fucking tragedy. Like, statistically, women who are getting abortions in the 9th month, it's because there's a medical complication that could kill them. That's why they have to do it.
So first off, Tim gave him like a ridiculous hypothetical of like a healthy pregnancy at 9 months, and the woman just decides like, you know, I went through the torture of being pregnant for 9 months, and I've decided to end my healthy pregnancy, you know, right before I'm going to deliver.
Right.
No one's in favor of that. Okay, no one, literally no one. I guess except for Lance.
Pregnant, the baby is viable and capable of surviving on its own.
Sure.
And she says before it breaches oxygen, kill it. Do you think that should be allowed?
This is, again, the baby guillotines. This is why I brought that up. But what a weird scenario. This doesn't happen. This is not the real world.
So I don't know what Lance really thinks.
Yeah.
But the only time abortion...
I think that Anna just, like... Did she just completely wildly misrepresent what Lance said? Like, someone else cut that in, right? Like, someone else cut in what he actually said. Because Lance's opinion was... He was like, this is a stupid hypothetical you keep bringing up. It never happens this way. So, yeah, so... I guess among other things that she said on here, is that what the rest of this is about? The rest of this is about Lance? Yeah. So she was on this podcast for a while and apparently said like a lot of wrong and inflammatory things on there. I guess that Cenk has decided that their network is not profitable enough and that they need to pivot toward the right. Or is it just Anna herself who has like realized that she's not gonna get the clout that she wants being a leftist, and that it will benefit her to be one of those women who's like, why I left the left? She went on that podcast to send up the signal that she's grifting to the right. Let's see how long it takes her, or maybe even TYT itself. I wonder if Cenk would sell TYT to like the Daily Beast, or like become a subsidiary of some kind of one of those. Do people still do PragerU Why I Left the Left videos? I don't know. Do they actually host them on PragerU? Is that the specific grift? I know that Ariel Scarcella did one just on her own channel. I don't think she partnered with PragerU. She stopped short of doing that. I'm sure they would have her on though. Yeah, no, agreed. I'm sure that they would have her on. I just like, I don't know what like, when she says it's a lie that puberty blockers are reversible, like, this is the kind of moment, the reason why I went off on a tangent about her not providing any proof for what she believes is that, like, and, like, the fact that her job is to just make stupid social commentary. What are you citing about, what do you mean it's a lie that puberty blockers are reversible? What they do is they pause puberty. If you take them for a very long time, then sure, it can affect your development. But the idea is that you take them for enough time as it takes to get psychological like examinations, to get like psychiatric evaluations done, and you have now enough time to do that without all of the distress. Like, okay, here's what people don't get. People don't understand that gender dysphoria a lot of the time is the underlying issue that trans people are having. I mean, aside from like material like lack of access to the things that make your life like livable. When people try to be like, well, you need to resolve your eating disorder before you can start hormone transition because we've arbitrarily decided that, you know, you have to make sure that what you are is trans and not like just a cis woman with an eating disorder. Not understanding that like transgender men develop eating disorders because they can't control how much curves they have unless they starve themselves. You don't look nearly as feminine and curvaceous. Your boobs are smaller if you starve yourself. So like you're trying to treat the eating disorder, but then the person starts to gain weight and look female again, and you're denying them hormones, like you're denying them testosterone, and it's just, you're just fucking the problem up even worse. Same thing with children who have gender dysphoria. Like, it makes it hard for you to do your work in school. It makes it hard for you to be friends with people. It makes it hard for you to want to take a shower if you have gender dysphoria. Like, those symptoms all look like depression symptoms. Like, you know, these people who are so against the big pharma and everything and complain about how we throw antidepressants at everything, gender dysphoria is one of those things that kind of just looks like regular depression, until the person gets the adequate treatment and understands that it's gender dysphoria. It kind of just feels like depersonalization and depression and anxiety. And so you just end up throwing drugs at that for years, or you could just get the care that you need. So like, yeah, the point of puberty blockers is that you get enough time to like be mentally clear and have the clarity, a break from the constant attack that puberty sometimes feels like to trans people. Like, what do you mean about them causing irreparable harm? If your worry is bone density, then okay, just put the kids on the correct hormones when they're at the appropriate age. Okay, like chill. I got off of it earlier, but one of the other things I was gonna say is they keep accusing us of being the ones who are talking about this stuff and causing the issues. Specifically, Anna was saying that trans men are the ones complaining about being called birthing people or women or whatever. And then also Jenk, one of his tirades was going about like, oh, you know, you go off about how you want trans women in sports and that's what's hurting the movement. Here, maybe it's this.
The hormone blockers do lower the testosterone. They do even things out a lot, right? But the men still have other physical advantages. Like
men have physical advantages.
That is incredibly selfish of activists who are betraying their own community. Because when you say I don't care about elections, who cares about the Democrats? That isn't the point. The Republicans introduced over 600 bills against the LGBTQ community. That's because of elections. And over 70 of them have already passed. When you say I don't care about winning and I don't care about elections, what you're saying is...
Oh, so what he's saying here is he's insinuating that like people who are advocating for trans women to be allowed to participate in women's sports, like that folks who don't recognize how much of a rhetorical failure that is, are saying that they don't care about winning the votes. Like, oh, I'm gonna keep advocating for this even though it's gonna lose us the votes because I've decided that I don't care about the vote. Like, this is like some victim blaming shit, basically. You're going off of what a couple people on social media may have said, that they're like, you know, I think that what they're probably actually saying is we shouldn't capitulate on this, even though people think that they have an intuitive sensation about what's correct and what's not to do here. Like, we shouldn't cow to what is the popular opinion, like a fallacy of ad populum, because the science does not support the idea that trans women have an unfair advantage in sports. And if you could control for all of the factors, if you wanted to have height division, if you wanted to have weight division, if you really think that trans women having certain muscle mass makes them different to each other, like base it off of body percentage of muscle mass, then like you can make sports work in a way that isn't discriminatory, but your first knee-jerk reaction is to be discriminatory. So why should we let that happen? You know, but like, again, you're just blaming us for all these laws that have passed, you know, like as though we're the ones who are bringing this up. Trans women in sports has not been an issue until they brought it up, until the transphobic laws keep passing. And he brings up the like 700 laws that have been proposed. Like, yeah, man, those are laws attacking our right to participate in sports and in bathrooms and in like our right to access to healthcare. And you're here focusing on the sports issue. Like, why aren't you, Jank, talking about the fact that these laws that are targeting, you know, you like, I guess your personal opinion can be fucking garbage if you want it to be about how trans kids don't deserve access to care, which fuck you. Like, every person who says like, oh, you don't need to get your tits cut off, you can wait until you're 18. Like, yeah, thank you. Like, plenty of kids kill themselves or attempt to kill themselves or attempt to cut off their own body parts before the age of 18. So like, what you want is dead kids. And I'm tired of the fact that people like brush that fact off, that people like, oh, I'm so desensitized to hearing about the actual living struggle and suffering of trans people. I've just decided that I don't want to care about that. Like, please eat shit and like, I don't fucking want to talk to you. He's getting mad at us for pushing back on a wedge issue. Like, wedge issues are the most important to push back on because those precedents are always pushed further. Exactly, that's what you don't, yeah. Like, okay, so if we concede trans women don't belong in women's sports, then the next logical thing that they're gonna go to is trans women don't belong in women's locker rooms, and then trans women don't belong in women's bathrooms. And then it's like, okay, well, at what point does it stop? The answer is it doesn't stop. And that's not a slippery slope argument because they are making those laws. I live in Kansas. It is currently illegal for trans women to use women's public facilities here. All of them. All of them. It's not legal for them to go to women's shelters for rape. Like, if a trans woman is raped by her boyfriend, she cannot go to a women's shelter in the state of Kansas because they're gender segregated. But I'm not surprised. You know, people keep pointing out that the TYT, like, the Young Turks itself, like, the name The Young Turks is a reference to, like, a genocide, right? I don't know a lot of details about this because, frankly, I've never been a huge fan of the Young Turks. It's kind of whatever to me. But they've been escalating this way for a while, and they're victim blaming us, insinuating that us focusing on one particular wedge issue is the problem, as though we're not fighting back on all these issues. We have to fight back on all these issues, and he's just telling us, like, oh, you can't, like, don't fight back about the sports issue because, oh, we'll lose the whole election. You can tell that these people don't do the research because they also are not aware that the politicians who are running on very exclusively anti-trans platforms are not winning. Like, they are losing a lot. Unless they're in heavily gerrymandered areas, or unless they do something like run as a Democrat and then immediately switch to being a Republican so that they can steal a supermajority in the, I think, House of Representatives of North Carolina, South Carolina, whichever one it was. We've looked at the research, actually, and determined that the actual difference between women's sports and men's sports is that there isn't enough money put into women's sports. They have worse facilities, they have worse equipment, they have worse trainers, they don't get sponsors. Like, literally, they have worse food in some of these areas where, like, if this sports team is traveling, you have to work within your budget in order to get food for your team and everything. It's also true when you look at the research that women do better in endurance sports. In, like, a sprint, men generally trend a little bit faster, but in a marathon, women generally do better. So there are, like, some differences, but generally speaking, men and women can be competitive if you just allow them to be competitive with one another. Like, there's also that study on math tests that if you expose a girl to, like, information about how girls are bad at math right before you give her a math test, she'll perform worse than a girl who did not have that. Like, it's been, so if, like, the simple fact that you're playing in a segregated sport because you've been declared to be not good enough compared to men, like, that on its own is a detriment to you being able to be successful. But these people don't care about the science. That's the thing with transphobes. And I'm just gonna go out and say that Cenk and Anna are transphobic. They are transphobes. If they would like to stop being considered transphobes, they should stop advocating for transphobic policies and, like, advocating against the civil rights of trans people. Access to healthcare is a civil right. Access to involvement in sports is a civil right, and it has to do with your opportunities in life. Whether you're going to be able to go to college sometimes is dependent on a sports, like, getting on the sports team. It's not like women are being denied opportunities if trans women are given some opportunities, because at this point they kind of don't have any opportunities. Hello, it's July. Thank you to my patrons, especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Amanda B, Michelle Frattaroli, Danielle McDonald, Sarah A, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Athiet, Robin Olson, Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Jamie Jam, Past Null Infinity, Desi Quiche, Nova, Suzanne Maynard, Mr. Atheist, Elizabeth Bartell, Sojo, and Kevin Young.